Okay, we can get started. Ani Ngwaagan Chuck Peltier is the cause. We can come down the bar. He goes Ngwaagan Gamig Recovery. Thank you to the live stream viewers for attending today's session. We'll have a little bit discussion on what is cannabis, cannabis harms, cannabis safety, cannabis rules. Here's a video on cannabis education from 1936.
These high school boys and girls are having a hop at the local soda fountain. Innocently they dance. Innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell. In this film, you will see the ease with which this vicious plant can be grown in your neighbor's yard, rolled into harmless-looking cigarettes, hidden in an innocent shoe or watch case. In this startling film, you will see dopesters lure children to destruction.
We're going over to Joe's place. Why don't you come along? We have a date to play instead of doubles. Oh, you can play anytime. Come on, we'll have some laughs. Can I go along with you? Sure. Hey, I'll see you there, Sid.
If you want a good smoke, try one of these.
You will meet Bill, who once took pride in his strong will as he takes the first step toward enslavement.
Of course, if you're afraid.
Smoking the soul-destroying reefer, they find a moment's pleasure, but at a terrible price. Debauchery, violence, murder, suicide. And the ultimate end of the marijuana addict. Hopeless insanity. Film now, before it is too late.
Okay, that is your cannabis education from 1936. What is cannabis? Cannabis comes in three different types: sativa, indica, and hybrid. A hybrid is just a genetically modified plant. It has both indica and sativa genetics in it. Your sativa plants are a narrow leaf plant, and the indicas are your broader leaf plant. Cannabis species. You gotta know what your cannabis species are. There's sativa and indica. Sativas are more mind dominant, anti-anxiety, antidepressant, activating, increased alertness. Indicas are body dominant, sedating, muscle relaxant, reduced nausea, increased dopamine. Cannabis is a plant that has mental and physical effects such as creating a high or impaired feeling, a general change in perception, and heightened mood. This is your picture of your basic cannabis leaf. This is a picture of the cannabis flower. That's what you smoke. This is a picture of an indoor garden, and that's these plants are shorter and don't grow as big as these outdoor plants. This is one plant here, so You're allowed to grow 4 plants in your household. Sativa versus indica versus hybrid. Know the difference? Know your cannabis? Sativas are mainly a body high or head high, and indicas are a body high. Sativas are best suited for daytime use, and indicas are best suited for nighttime use. What is THC and CBD? CBD is cannabidiol. It is a non-psychoactive part of the plant. Can reduce nausea, can reduce anxiety and euphoric effects of THC. THC is tetrahydrocannabidiol. This is the psychoactive part of the cannabis plant. Can cause euphoria, anxiety, and appetite. Here's a little video on the Cannabis Act.
It is now legal for adults to use cannabis in Canada, but there are a few things you need to know. Cannabis became legal for adults on October 17, 2018. It's your responsibility to know what is legal in your province or territory, including the legal age and where you are able to buy and use cannabis. If you're high, don't drive or go to work. Store cannabis securely and away from kids, and don't travel internationally with cannabis. Whether you're leaving or entering Canada, it remains illegal to take cannabis across the Canadian border. Find out more and get the facts at canada.ca/cannabis. A message from the Government of Canada.
That's your video on Cannabis Act. Cannabis is legal. On October 17, 2018, the Cannabis Act came into force. Cannabis Act was created for controlling the production, distribution, sale, and possession of cannabis in Canada. This is a picture of a tax excise stamp, and this is your cannabis retail seal. So all cannabis authorized dispensaries will have this on their buildings or on their storefronts. This is Ontario Cannabis Store. They provide all the cannabis for the legal dispensaries in Ontario. For the tax excise stamp, this will be on all legal cannabis products. Cannabis packaging and labeling. This is your standard cannabis THC symbol. This will be on all packaging of cannabis products, all the legal products that are in the legal dispensaries. All the products will have this yellow badging with the warning labels on cannabis harms. So all the legal cannabis products will have this information on there. THC and CBD ratios. A little bit of knowledge you need to know when you're purchasing cannabis at a legal dispensary. You got to know how much THC and how much CBD is in the product. They'll show the percentages of what each strain has, the level of THC and the level of CBD. Here's some pictures of cannabis display units. The legal cannabis dispensary stores have these little units where they display their cannabis. They'll have a little valve here. You can open that valve up and you can smell the cannabis, and you can smell the different terpenes that are for each strain of cannabis. There's all kinds of different strain names like White Shark. We've got Vision Quest here. But those are all that information will be on in the legal cannabis stores. They'll show the name, the strain of the product, how much THC levels are in there, how much CBD levels, whether it's a sativa or indica or a hybrid. Then it'll tell you what the terpenes are too. Like this one says pepper and spice. For Vision Quest, terpenes here are citrus and spice. Here's a little video on cannabis edibles.
Edible cannabis, cannabis extracts, and cannabis topicals will soon be legal in Canada for adults to purchase. However, it will take time before these new cannabis products become available for purchase. Here's what you need to know about these new products, including ways you can lower the risks to your health if you choose to consume cannabis. Start with a low level of THC, for example, 2.5 milligrams or less in cannabis products that you eat or drink. Compared to inhaling cannabis, it can take longer to feel the effects of cannabis that you eat or drink, up to 2 hours to begin to feel the effects, and up to 4 hours to feel the full effects. The effects of eating or drinking cannabis can last up to 12 hours, and some residual effects could last up to 24 hours. If you've consumed cannabis, do not drive. Store all cannabis products safely and keep them out of the reach of children, youth, and pets. This is particularly important for edible cannabis, which may be mistaken for regular food or drink. Find out more and get the facts at canada.ca/cannabis. A message from the Government of Canada.
That video is a little outdated. Cannabis edibles are now they're now legal and they're now in the cannabis stores. Here's some pictures of some cannabis edibles that are in the legal cannabis dispensaries. This is some pictures of the soft chews, they call them. They come in 4 units, THC levels and CBD levels. This is hard candy. They call this is mints that are cannabis. This is a picture of some cannabis tea, cannabis chocolates, cannabis vapor cartridges, cannabis drinks. So cannabis edibles come in many different forms. Who should not use cannabis? If you're allergic to cannabis or to smoke, under the age of 25, possesses a greater risk to mental health during development, particularly during adolescence, have personal or family history of serious mental disorders such as schizophrenia, psychosis, bipolar, or depression, have serious liver, kidney, heart, or lung disease, are pregnant, planning to become pregnant, or nursing, have a history of alcohol or drug abuse or substance dependence. This is a picture of the human brain. The human brain is not fully developed till you're 25 years old. Your brain develops from the back to your front. So this is your prefrontal cortex, and that's not fully developed till you're 25. So those are the harms with consuming cannabis. The Health Canada wants people to kind of delay their use of cannabis until they're 25. This is a picture of the road to addiction. First stage is casual use. The second stage is abuse. And the third stage is full-blown addiction. So those are the risks with cannabis use. You could develop addiction because it is still a drug. Cannabis harms and withdrawal symptoms. People who use cannabis regularly develop psychological dependence. After regularly using cannabis for long periods of time, they can develop physical dependence. Withdrawal symptoms can be irritability, anxiety, upset stomach, loss of appetite, sweating, and disturbed sleep. Those who use cannabis should be aware of the health risks and take measures to avoid them. Why the national push for cannabis legalization? To establish safe and responsible production systems, So they designed a distribution system that produces the least harm to users and non-users. Increase user knowledge and around cannabis potency. Expand cannabis scientific knowledge, particularly for medical users. Reduce the strain on the criminal justice system, court times, jail time, and fines. Cannabis has the potential to be the less deadly alternative in the face of the opiate crisis declared in First Nations and municipalities. To decrease the likelihood of lacing with other drugs such as fentanyl, carfentanil, methamphetamines, which can lead to overdose. Cannabis harm reduction. Delay using cannabis until the age of 25 is recommended. Choose low THC levels and higher CBD levels. Stay away from synthetic cannabis products. Avoid regular use. Try 1 day per week or less. Use cannabis in ways that don't involve smoking, such as edibles or oils. If you do smoke, avoid deep inhalation and breath holding. You don't need to take a big breath of the cannabis smoke, and you don't need to hold it in your lungs for a long time. The smoke is going into your lungs, and there's oil in the smoke, and that's what's going to get you high. It's not how much you can inhale at once and how long you can hold it. Not using cannabis is the best way to protect your health. Cannabis rules and safety. Don't drive high. Don't go to work impaired. Buy from a legal source. Know and follow the rules about where you can use cannabis in your community. Don't carry more than 30 grams in public unless authorized. Here's a little bit of messaging for cannabis rules and safety. Cannabis Safety Procedures. If you're using cannabis, do not drive. Find an alternative. Stay overnight. Call a taxi. Share a ride. Use public transportation or have a designated driver. Cannabis Act rules. To buy, possess, or use cannabis and cannabis products, you must be the legal age of 19 in Ontario. You can possess up to 30 grams of legal dried cannabis or the equivalent in non-dried form in public. Limit for home cultivation is 4 plants per residence. It is illegal to take cannabis and cannabis products, including those with CBD, across the border. Cannabis edibles, cannabis extracts, and cannabis topicals are now available for legal purchase. The Cannabis Act includes strict penalties for selling or providing cannabis and cannabis products to youth under the legal age. Cannabis policing. Law enforcement officers are trained to detect drug-impaired driving. They enforce the drug-impaired driving laws using standard field sobriety testing, typically administered at the roadside. Drug recognition expert. They do an evaluation. This could include a series of tests and a toxicology sample, either urine or blood. Cannabis driving laws and enforcement. Driving impaired is illegal. You could face consequences like a fine, criminal charges, or even jail time. Drugs affect your ability to react or increase the chance of a crash. Drug impaired driving charge. This is the lesser charge. Having two nanograms but less than 5 nanograms of THC per milliliter of blood. The penalty here is a $1,000 fine. This is the more serious charge. Having 5 nanograms or more of THC per milliliter of blood within 2 hours of driving. The penalty here for the first offense is mandatory minimum of $1,000 fine. The max could be 10 years. Second offense is mandatory minimum 30 days imprisonment, and the max could be 10 years imprisonment. Third offense is mandatory minimum of 120 days, and the max could be 10 years. Cannabis transporting rules. Similar to the rules for alcohol, it is illegal to transport cannabis in a motorized vehicle, such as a car or a boat, if it is opened, unfastened, and not in its original packaging, not packaged in baggage, and is readily available to anyone in the vehicle. It is illegal to take cannabis across the Canadian border. For flights within Canada, only 30 grams are allowed for transporting. This is into the end of the presentation. The cannabis education key messages are: keep the cannabis out of the hands of the youth, keep the cannabis out of the hands of the criminals in the black market, purchase your cannabis from a licensed dispensary, educate yourself on the health and safety risks with cannabis use. Here is where I get my information from. CAMH, Center for Addictions and Mental Health, CCSA, Canadian Center on Substance Abuse, Cannabis Canada, Drug-Free Kids Canada, Thunderbird Partnership Foundation, and CCOHS, Canadian Center for Occupational Health and Safety. And that's the end of my presentation. Here's the next cannabis session will be on Wednesday, February 26th here at the council chambers. So come on out, or we'll have a live link too. But thank you to all the live viewers for coming to the presentation and viewing online. So say thank you and miigwech.